All right. Okay. How do I space this? All right, got a new mic
Sorry
here.
for
Getting
my
used to it.
accents.
Yeah, that was a great
mean,
one, guys.
better.
Great panel. Now we've got
Better
another
than
one here,
yesterday.
and this one
Anything would be
is.
better than yesterday.
Hello? Okay, all right. This one is stacked, okay? Stacked with Sonic people. We're going to be talking Sonic strategy from inception to now, and we pulled in the four people you needed for it. We're bringing in the assistant again, so hope you're ready. Sam Harcourt's back, Ash, and Michael Kong. We haven't seen him today, so folks, give him a round of applause for Michael Kong, Ash, Sam, and the assistant. We can bring energy, guys. Energy.
Hi, how is everybody so far? You enjoying yourself?
Nice.
Okay, good.
Day 2.
The name of this little meeting we have is Sonic Strategy from Inception to Now. I think that we don't have a script for this. We don't have any notes or anything. I think it's more of just like an open conversation. And again, I think it's also a good idea, like, while we're talking, if you have a question, just, like, ask a question, because the chances are that one of us do have the answers to it, hopefully. Yeah, I think this is a 30-minute session, so we're talking about a bunch of different things.
A good place to start would be the reframing of the airdrop. So we did have a video yesterday that sort of described.
We'll play it again at some point.
We'll play it again, and it was sort of for season 2. So season 1 of the airdrop is starting to come to a close. So over the next few weeks, we're going to see more information on how this is going to end. But for season 2, if you want to get a bit of an edge, a bit of alpha, and sort of understand the direction of where and how you can earn more points, Johan's built a really great slideshow that sort of describes the thought process. The big thing around season 2 is season 1 was more of a success than I think we all planned for. Like, our initial targets internally were like, let's really try to get over this cold start phase of the network. Let's build up our TVL. And let's try to get $500 million within the first 3 months. We hit $1 billion. Absolutely insane how fast that was. And so it just really showed the demand for Sonic. But now we all know, we've all done our market research that, and I'm not going to throw names out here, but I think we all know who they are. You see a project does an airdrop, it finishes the airdrop, and then every single metric that they have falls off a cliff. Just absolutely caters. And so what we want to do is, rather than continually building passive liquidity through the airdrop and going from 1 to 5 to 10 billion TVL, 1 billion TVL is a very, very healthy number for the type of ecosystem that we have at this point. Of course, this is going to grow, but for us long term, we really want to see a sticky 1 billion rather than a 10 billion that's going to fade out. So the mindset that Johan went into the season 2 of the airdrop is how can we make this the most sticky liquidity possible so that even after the airdrop is over, we're left with a thriving, healthy ecosystem and heaps of applications that are able to continually leverage that capital. And so you're going to see a very big shift from passive liquidity points to active liquidity points. So if you're a DeFi lover, if you're a GameFi lover, if you love actually interacting with the application rather than just sitting back and holding the assets, you are going to be rewarded far more heavily in season 2 compared to season 1. But yeah, that's what we're going to do.
I'm sure many of you have worked with Johan, and if you haven't worked with Johan and you would like to learn who this guy is, unfortunately he couldn't be here because of visa issues. But Johan's a very instrumental part of our team. He's the architect of the airdrop, and I can't explain, an airdrop is a full-time job, for one person. It's not easy. And when we went into designing the airdrop, it took us a lot of time. We looked at a lot of other airdrops going on, some internal expectations, and let's be honest, we talk about this with Mike all the time, on a daily basis, which is no matter how the airdrop goes, whether it's the best airdrop, people are still going to complain. Right? People are still going to be unhappy. They have unrealistic expectations. But the reality of what we're doing at Sonic with our airdrop is we have to take serious considerations of how to how to orchestrate an airdrop where the price of the token is not up in the air like as a price discovery. Like, we don't like to really talk about the token price as much as like a lot, like obviously most foundations and labs don't, but when it comes down to this, it's like if it was a brand new chain and we were just doing an airdrop and we was like kind of just throw it up in the air and the price lands where it lands, it's fairly easy, right? The only thing that you are responsible for that point is like FDV towards the investors. They want to make sure you don't like nuke their investment. But for us, we had to be very, very, very careful. Why? And like, I think it's important and speaks a lot about our team is like, we really care about the people who've been on Sonic. So, and on Phantom historically. So when we were building the airdrop, the number one priority was like, how do we achieve like all the things that we want to achieve with minimal impact on like just attacking the price so hard. And mathematically, aside from speculative up and down like market pressure on the token price, that's going to be around at the time of distribution of the tokens regardless, we've done the math to see like how can we make it so that the airdrop distribution wise, the mechanism, and like how long can it be drawn out. I think that giving an airdrop has like all of the tokens unlock at the same exact time. You're asking users to lock their funds for a certain amount of months to like maximize the amount of points they get. It doesn't end well, and like we're seeing that play out. Like I'm sure you guys are seeing that play out. So we thought about this, and credits to Andre, credits to Mike from like the leadership to say like, hey, do not ask any users to lock funds. And I think that's what the beauty is about our airdrop is like, if you want to come to Sonic and farm the airdrop right now, come. If you want to stop farming the airdrop in 10 minutes, leave. If you want to start again in a week, come back. Like, it's an open door for you to come, check out the ecosystem. It's not like you come to the ecosystem, we're locking you into liquidity and permanent loss or whatever, like these types of pools or smart contract risk. It's a free-for-all. And I think that people are really valuing that right now, and we're seeing it in our airdrop, and we're getting a lot of praise. One of the things that everyone on our team will definitely tell you, we have not heard the word. We were really concerned with Sybils. Right, like everyone talks about airdrop and Sybil. No. Not one time since we started the airdrop have I ever heard one person question Sybils. Because to my knowledge, on our airdrop, you cannot Sybil attack our airdrop. Like, you need to actively be participating in the ecosystem, and it's very, very, very difficult to manipulate the airdrop on Sonic. That's because we put a lot of time into it, and everyone on the team, everyone on stage, literally every team member has given their input and has been a part of building the airdrop mechanism on Sonic. So I'm excited to see it start playing out. I think it will start like the distribution of the linear decay model for the ERC 1155s will start probably 2 weeks after the snapshot ends. So maybe like the last week of June or first week of July, you'll start seeing some exciting things happening with the airdrop.
Yeah, but the one thing said though is we liked the idea of locking for the pre-deposits. We did explore that route.
Yeah, of course.
And then Andre said, this is the dumbest thing you've ever shown us.
Yeah.
We said, okay, let's rethink this.
I mean, it's easy to get stuck in the hype, right? Like, when we were building the airdrop, we're looking at other chains. I really don't want to mention other chains. I'll try my hardest. But like, we're looking at other chains and doing research and seeing like, what is this chain doing? What is this chain doing? And a lot of them are doing like these locking things. Because the thing about when you're locking liquidity for an airdrop is like, you're guaranteed to get funds to stick. It's like forcing sticky liquidity. But what you start to realize is that when you have that forced sticky liquidity, you don't have like a flow of funds and naturally like creating volume on the chain, and it actually hurts you. It's actually not beneficial.
Well, it distorts markets, right? Yeah. So you're kind of building up that demand to exit, which is a very unhealthy look. And that's why we constantly see these airdrops fail and fail and fail.
The problem with pre-deposits is that essentially, TVL on chain is important in terms of like, what does the TVL actually do? And the problem with pre-deposits, and why I also agree with Andre that it was like the dumbest idea in the history of ideas, is because it just like locks up like TVL, and then you're paying for that TVL to be locked up there. So I guess you can make pretty graphs and say, oh, we have all this TVL, look at all this like attention we're getting, ha ha ha. And then, you're just paying for basically a vanity metric, doesn't actually like add anything to the ecosystem. Because if you want like a thriving ecosystem, the airdrop has to be doing something that gets people into the ecosystem and staying in the ecosystem where they're always seeing opportunities, because people always want to see what the next thing is, right? You know, as I mentioned before in my presentation, it's like instant dopamine. There's always going to be something else that someone wants to do, whether it's participating in a particular DeFi protocol or whatever application it is, where they're having fun and they're making money. And free deposits are just a very expensive way to easily burn money for a short-term metric that you know that when people are going to when the free deposit campaign ends, they're going to withdraw and go somewhere else, and then you don't really have anything to show for it. And I think there are examples of different like L1s and L2s that still to this day are engaging in pre-deposit campaigns, and you just look at the results, right? The results are, you know, initially they get a lot of hype, but then there's not really much more to show for it, and they've spent like millions and millions of dollars for not really much value in the end.
If you look at like take a step back and you think, right, like why are they doing this? Like if it's just a burn of money, and the reality is that like these chains that do it, they all are like super VC funded chains, and those VCs, they want to see metrics, like metrics. So when you launch a chain, it's like they'll take any TVL, even if it is the most unproductive TVL possible. And you know what? We tried it with a couple of assets to kind of dabble around and see, like, is this work? Like, does it work? And the beauty about like the airdrop is like we make it really flexible. If we whitelist an asset and it's not working, we will remove the asset from the whitelist, because at the end of the day, we have the fiduciary responsibility, like from building the airdrop and doing a governance vote with our token holders, is like we want to maximize the airdrop. We don't want to just give tokens to anyone, because there are plenty of vampire large assets under management funds,
Liquidity locusts
that'll contact us, and we've had conversations where people call us and say, we'll deposit $2 billion worth of TVL tomorrow. Like literally, this happens all the time. But then when you look at the assets, they produce nothing. They're just there, questionable collateral. They don't generate any fees for the holders. So we tried that, and then you'll notice recently, like a few days ago, we whitelisted Wrap Bitcoin. Normally we don't have, like, Andre specifically is like kind of against Bitcoin as whitelisting because it doesn't really bring value to the ecosystem. However, we see, and like through a lot of research and just taking a look at all fee generation, most of the fees generated on like the top 5 chains, and those the respective top 2 or 3 dexes of each chain, the volume is all generated by like volatile pairs like Bitcoin pairs, wrapped ETH pairs, native token pairs, USDC pairs, USDT pairs. So when we looked at it, we
was chosen because of the DEXs asking
exactly
us.
the DEXs are asking for us. And then why are the DEXs asking? The DEXs are asking is because if they have more whitelisted assets and there's like incentives for there to be liquidity on those assets, and there's volume and there's volatility, then there's fees being generated, like actual real fees are being generated, and those real fees are then being distributed to token holders like on Shadow or Metro or any DEX or Equalizer on Sonic. So we take a lot of time to make sure that if we do whitelist an asset, it's for good reason.
Yeah. To add on to that, just quickly. So at Sonic, when the airdrop began, we took the marketing approach not to over-market it, because I always feel like when you see these chains marketing their airdrops, to me at least, if they post about it every single day, they come off as fucking scams. And we didn't want to do that. I mean, Sonic, even if you take away the airdrop, there's still going to be insane DeFi opportunities, even on Shadow. I mean, I'm farming yield right now on Aave, and even if you take away the airdrop, I would still do it. And it just goes to show that I don't want Sonic to be defined, I don't think any of us do, by an airdrop, because that's going to end.
Yep.
And that's why we're not marketing it as much as we could have.
And the whitelisting of WBTC, Wrap BTC, is a good example of us basically listening to developers. So the reason why we whitelisted it a couple of days ago is because we had different exchanges coming to us and saying, we really would like this to be whitelisted for activity points because it generates a lot of fees for us. Here are the stats, here are the numbers, please, can you get it? And when we had sufficient people asking us that, we were like, okay, there's real demand for it. This is what our developers want. We want to listen to the feedback of developers, so we are going to whitelist it. And if we see that something is not really adding particular value to the ecosystem, whether it's like whitelisting of a particular asset or whatever it might be, then maybe we won't spend like our support and resources there and we'll focus it somewhere else. So our approach really is about listening to developers and just asking them, what do they want? What do they want in terms of their airdrop, in terms of grants, in terms of marketing support, in terms of any infrastructure, that sort of thing. And we're just basically just trying to give them as much as possible what they want so they can just want to build on Sonic and just keep growing. Because if they grow, then we get developers, we get users, we get popular applications, and that's basically the business model of any sort of chain out there.
So I think we talked enough about the airdrop. If anyone has questions, just pull us aside and we'll try to answer as best as possible. But let's talk about Inception to now. I think it's pretty interesting. And I like to boast about this a lot because I think it's one of the more prouder moments of my experience working at Sonic. And I think for everyone on the team is launching a token. I say this to everyone. Launching a token, easy, right? Like launching a chain, the process of raising VC capital, everyone is doing it. But migrating a token, migrating billions of dollars, validators, communities, centralized exchanges, from an existing ticker to a completely new network, one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life.
Not only that, but the single ticker problem.
Yeah. And another chain, by the way, they announced today that they are also switching to a single ticker. So
our effort.
Maybe we're trendsetters, but we were very nervous with single ticker of just being the S token, the letter S. Quick note on that, actually. When we were in the process of doing the network launch, we faced a very strange issue, which was MetaMask, which a lot of people still use, even though there's a lot of other wallets. There's a lot of MetaMask users. They didn't support a single ticker. You could not add, when you're adding a network and it says a network ID, whatever, you could not put single ticker. So we had to go through the process with consensus at MetaMask and do pull requests, and we were the first ticker to ever have a single ticker supported on MetaMask. So
even on CEXs, right?
Yeah.
You had OKX, Mexi, all these big exchanges. When you typed in S, Sonic wouldn't show up, even though it's the ticker token, right? So we had to chase them for weeks on end every single day.
Still chasing some of them.
Still chase someone. It's crazy, and a single ticker token is very, very good looking, but it presented these logistical issues with search functionality. And every exchange had to literally update their programming to match S to Sonic. And also the problem was that we got vampired by another project called Sonic. So when someone would type in Sonic, they would show up. So we had this two-road issue that we had to solve with all these centralized exchanges. And yeah.
The good news is that all of these, I think, were kind of short-term issues. That, in retrospect, we would have made a few different decisions on the relaunch or the rebrand. But it was very difficult back in the early days, December, January of this year, where you could see on Twitter a lot of people, were saying a lot of comments about how this is the worst rebrand in the history of rebrands.
It ended up pretty good, I think.
It's terrible, and that we're going to go to zero and that sort of thing. The good news is that I think a lot of these issues, the team mentioned about just search functionality, allowing people to search for the project, allowing people to search for the token, allowing people to see it on the exchanges and aggregators. I think all of those problems, short-term problems, have largely been solved. And now I don't really see people complaining about the rebrand being the most terrible rebrand ever, which is great to see, because now we can focus on not dealing with those sort of short-term issues and more longer-term issues like we've been talking about at this conference, about just supporting developers and users in different ways, focusing on the new developer features which are coming out very, very shortly within the next few months or so, and basically just growing the ecosystem. And I'm very happy that this year I can now talk about an actual ecosystem that we have live that people can use and people can make money on, rather than last year just talking about theoretically a new chain that's coming out and what you can do. But now people can see that you can actually do this stuff now, and we want to grow and make the chain very, very large. In 21, Phantom, the old chain, became very large, and we want to repeat the same thing, much more scalable though, with much better technology, and just make it much, much bigger.
I think a lot of the things that Sam, myself, and the team that we focus on is really being real with ourselves and addressing things that are shortfall that we've identified in the company, historically, and then also listening to the community, historically and in the present. So just off the top of my head, one of the main things that has always been asked is when are you going to have native USDC? And we understand the importance of having native USDC, and I had mentioned before, I wish it was so easy that we just call Circle and say, hey, let's do this thing. There's, like I was mentioning in my presentation, there's so many chains. There's so many chains that have massive amounts of money that are calling Circle every single day trying to get native USDC. And they can't do all of them. So like we need to make a serious business case. And thankfully protocols like Aave, Silo, Euler, like we were able to scale USDC in size, like around 500 million, and then we get the attention of Circle, and now they're taking us a bit more seriously. So we've been able to use that. Okay, now that we have USDC, like what's next? Sam and I and another team member who's unable to be here, Lisa, who's leading APAC for us now, we've been spending the past month prioritizing getting USDC listed on centralized exchanges on Sonic. Very, very, very difficult. Very difficult. Just because it's native doesn't mean anything. All the exchanges are businesses. There's a lot of costs associated with it, a lot of negotiating, a lot of time. So I think so far we can make like a brief. We could talk about brief announcement of exchanges.
Yeah, I agree, but I think it's becoming easier. So it's not so difficult. I would say it's easier on the USDC side because the demand we saw from Binance, that was insane.
Well, we're seeing, even today, we're seeing massive amounts of demand for USDC on Binance to the point where we're talking with Binance about increasing liquidity on a daily basis. So like USDC adoption on Sonic, I think that it is, as I've mentioned many times, it is the fastest EVM transaction of USDC. So people are noticing.
Yeah. But yeah, I think most of the exchanges we're working with now, I'm pretty excited. So if you want to mention it.
Yeah, we can mention a few. So as everyone or hopefully knows, currently USDC is supported on Binance. And we are in the process of rolling out support. This is the first time we're telling anyone, so I have to be very careful. For Crypto.com, USDC support. MEXC.
Yep.
That came yesterday, I think, right?
Yep. We announced that yesterday, actually, publicly. Kraken. OKX.
Nice.
Bybit.
And the others will leave.
KuCoin. Gate.io.
You're just listing every exchange out
well.
there.
I've been grinding. It's a lot.
Maybe a couple of others that you guys know about that we can't say right now.
Yeah, and a big one that we're working on that you may have heard of before. So, I like I mentioned before, for these big guys, the big names in crypto, maybe 4 years ago it was easier, but it's significantly, increasingly hard for us to communicate with them. It's hard for us to really talk about on Twitter because everyone is just angry all the time at us and have a dartboard with our face on it. But
I do want to switch the conversation over to another topic because we are running out of time.
Yes.
And I've been asked probably like 3 or 4 times in TG and chatting here.
I'm scared.
And you were taking a dig at VC chains.
Yes.
But one of the main sponsors here and someone who has recently invested in us, Galaxy.
Yeah.
And maybe I think you led the relationship really well with Galaxy.
I'll talking with them later today on the stage.
Oh, you already? Okay, amazing.
Yeah,
they got a panel?
Yeah, it's me and Eduardo from Galaxy. I will touch on that really quickly. So like you'll always hear me LARPing on VC chains. I hate them. You should too. The reason why I hate VC chains is because they're not getting reasonable like check size investments that are actually within reason of like why we're raising the money is for a purpose. Their goal when they're raising money is like take as much money as humanly possible, and I can't blame them. Like I would probably do the same thing if I was launching a chain and I just wanted to like have maximum extraction. Yeah. But fortunately, our experience with Galaxy has been great. They are very active in Sonic, and we talk to them on a daily basis. One of the things that I planned on speaking about at some point, and maybe this is a good 30 seconds to talk about it, is really important, and this is the first time we're actually speaking about this, is that we did a raise a year ago with some other firms. I don't want to mention any of the firms, but we take Sonic really seriously. Like this is our life, and we dedicate like dozens of hours, like hundreds, and it's crazy. And when we notice that somebody is being extractive or trying to abuse us, it hurts, and it feels like they're trying to take advantage of our community, and it's disrespectful to all of our hard work that we put in. So recently we had a VC that had invested in Sonic that we gave them their money back. We told them that we don't want to work with you anymore, and we drafted up.
Just to define it, so we basically bought our own tokens back.
Yeah, we bought our tokens back, and we gave capital back to them, and yeah, we cut the ties there. And like, I think it's really important. It's something that we should be talked about, is that if you have a relationship and you are a small project, and anyone here who plans on raising and you're working with a VC and they suck, tell them. Tell them that they suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage, but I think that, yeah, thanks. It's true.
Yeah.
They weren't happy about it. They tried to silence us, but we made sure that we were able to talk about it. And yeah, that's the extent that we're willing to go, is that we don't want people to come in and play games. If you're willing to be active in the ecosystem, and Galaxy has proven that to us many times over, sponsoring this event, sending someone here from New York, doing many other things with us, then...
And they're active in the chain as well.
Yeah, they're active on chain. We're all in. But it is very easy to identify someone extracting value from your ecosystem, from your project. And yeah, I'm glad that this time around, like, we had the balls to just tell them, fuck off. Yeah.
That's very proud of this, obviously, as you can
I am.
tell. Yeah.
It feels good. Usually, most chains, they're like indebted to the VC, and they're like, oh, VC,
Yeah.
right? Not here, buddy. Not us.
Except Galaxy, yeah. We love them, yeah.
Anything else? It's a few seconds. I don't know if you guys want to wrap up with saying anything.
I got nothing, bro.
I'll say one more thing. Is like I speak for everyone here on our team. Is thank you so much for coming, and also thank you for our team all over the world. A lot of them could not come here. What percentage of the team is here, you think?
At least half more, probably.
Half.
Because we got a lot of the
Dude, we got
technical
tech
guys
team
out.
as well.
Tech guys around, right?
Oh, yeah, tech guys.
Maybe half, 40% of the team is here. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that you've never seen, and you will never see. They're in the trenches. They're coding. They're innovating. And the spotlight is on us sometimes. But like,
One thing you
we
should
appreciate them.
You should touch on a little more. I think it'd be really interesting if we can go over time just by a couple minutes.
Loves going over time.
Is this is a habit. The expansion to Asia. So
Yes,
maybe
yes.
This was your idea. You really wanted to push this, which was Matt came to Sonic and he's like, Phantom, and it was helping us with the rebrand and the migration. And he said like, why don't we have any representatives who can represent us in Asia? And we said we need that. And we've been making
I'll talk
strides
about
for
it
that.
briefly.
Yeah.
When I first joined, I found it really, really funny. And no offense, Mike, but like everyone who met Sonic,
Everyone knows anyway, so...
everyone's like, "Oh, Mike, Chinese founder, Kong."
Yeah, start speaking Mandarin.
It's Mandarin.
Like, I have no idea.
And then he's like, "You got the wrong guy. I don't speak Mandarin."
Yeah.
And I've started to like identify like a lot. There's a lot of Chinese users, a lot. And I think that we really need to tap into the market. So we recently hired Lisa, who's been amazing. And Lisa, if you're watching this, like we really value you on the team. It's been a pleasure working with you so far. Having someone lead relationships with the exchanges. I can honestly tell you from our experience, we would not have had USDC on all those exchanges if we did not have a Mandarin-speaking team member, period. So if you are building an application or you're building anything in crypto, really, really think about having a native Mandarin speaker on your team. It opens a lot of doors. Using Google Translate, it's not the same. Having them get on a call and actually talk about like how to expand in Asia and what the people want in Asia, it works very, very well. So yeah, that's what's coming from us, expanding to Asia. Hopefully after Asia expansion, we'll focus more on Latin America, and we're doing things that Phantom never did. So thank you.
Nice.
Thanks, everyone.